Here we have a radical equation where the first radical is already isolated. So let's just go ahead and square both sides. When you square square root, left with x plus 3 on the left side equals. Now on the right side, let's be careful. What the little 2 up high means is to multiply this binomial times itself. And to do that, we're going to have to distribute, okay? So square root times the square root is equal to the square root of that argument squared. Okay, that square root times minus 1 is minus the square root. Negative 1 times that square root is minus the square root. And then negative 1 times negative 1 is plus 1. Now simplifying the right side, we can see that the square root of this squared, assuming that's positive, is 2x plus 4 minus 2 of these radicals and then plus 1. Okay, we squared both sides and we got rid of one of the radicals. Now we have to get rid of this second radical here. So let's go ahead and try to isolate that. Let's go ahead and subtract 2x. And then we'll subtract 4 and also subtract 1. Alright, so that leaves me with negative x minus 2 equals negative 2 times the square root of 2x plus 4. Okay, so at this point we can then square both sides again. That'll allow us to eliminate that second radical. So on this side, after we distribute, we'll be left with x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals, now when you square negative 2, you'll get a 4 times, when you square that square root, you get out the argument, 2x plus 4. Okay, be very careful there. And once you do that, there's no more radical, but that 4 will have to be distributed. So x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 8x plus 16. Now this is quadratic, so let's get it equal to 0. Let's subtract 8x, and let's also subtract 16. Okay, so that leaves us with x squared minus 4x minus 12 equals 0. Now let's go ahead and try to factor this. X and x. 12 breaks down into 2 times 6. 2 times 6 adds up to negative 4 if the 6 is negative. And the 2 is positive, and then positive 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. Once you have it factored correctly, set each factor equal to 0. So x plus 2 equals 0, or x minus 6 equals 0. So here's my two possible solutions. X equals negative 2, or x equals 6. Now certainly we squared both sides, so we should always check our answers at this point. Now you want to go back to the original to plug it in to see if it works. Let's plug in x equals negative 2 and see if it solves the original. Okay, so the original was x plus 3. The question is, does that equal the square root 2 times x, which is negative 2, plus 4 minus 1? Well, this is the square root of 1, which is just going to be 1. And on this side, that's going to be 0 and then minus 1. So 1 does not equal negative 1. That's telling me x equals negative 2 is extraneous. Let's check x equals 6. Again, plug it back into the original. So 6 plus 3. Question is, does that equal square root 2 times 6 plus 4 minus 1? I know this is tedious, but hang tight. So square root of 9. Question is, does that equal the square root? Is that 12 plus 4 is 16 minus 1. So 3 equals 4 minus 1. That works. So x equals 6 is a good solution. And so your answer to the original is one solution here, x equals 6. X equals 6 solves the original equation. Negative 2 was extraneous.